Okay, we're going to pick up where we left off for part 2. We are looking at the last paragraph of my body. So we just finished talking about how the server is made to feel invisible by the children and the family at table 8, and that bothers her, right? She doesn't want to be considered that kind of immigrant. So here's the final paragraph of that analysis. As she finishes her shift, she wonders if anyone sees her. She feels as if her presence is transient as a ghost's. I just want to point out what I've done here. Again, I start the paragraph with sort of a topic sentence that sets the direction. This is the paragraph about the server doing some internal work. She's thinking, she's pondering, she's examining her feelings, right? And so I include that here. She feels as if her presence is as transient as a ghost's. I'm highlighting the word is, which is in square brackets, because I'm pointing out that in the text itself, in the story, that word is not there. It's used as sort of a descriptive phrase, her presence as transient as a ghost's. And it's beautifully written in the story, but in my essay, I need that verb there for the sentence to make sense. And so as a writer of an analysis, I can insert words for grammatical clarity and for clarity in general. But when I do that, I have to make sure that the words that I put into the stories, my evidence, is in a square bracket so that readers know that that word did not appear in the story. And that's what the square bracket is indicating. Hey, these are words that I'm adding for clarity that weren't really in the story. I can't change the meaning of the story, but I can add words for clarity and for grammatical correctness. And so that's what I've done here. She feels as if her presence is as transient as a ghost's. The server's identity of superiority is crumbling away as she desperately tried to remember a time when someone had made her feel worth something. Again, I have 3 dots in the middle of this sentence because the sentence in the story is much longer, and I didn't need that stuff in the middle. I wanted just the parts that are most relevant to my point. Well, the stuff that existed where these 3 dots are right now is good information. It really doesn't help me prove my point. And so by taking it out, I'm not changing the meaning of what the author wrote. I'm just using the most essential parts to help support my analysis. The server's identity of superiority is crumbling away as she desperately tried to remember a time when someone had made her feel worth something. She realizes she cannot remember a time she felt valued. This realization crushes her spirit, and she feels weighed down by the burden of invisibility. She just wants to leave as quickly as possible, but before she can exit the building, Alejandro catches her attention and gives her a customer feedback form left for her from the family at table 8. Alone in her car, she reads the father's words, which state their time at the restaurant was pleasant because of her. The father with rambunctious boys saw her. With his words, she would have stayed invisible. Without his words, she would have stayed invisible for yet another day. So you can see that I'm providing a lot of context here, kind of in the way of very super brief summary, kind of bringing the reader of the essay along with me on the journey through this story. I'm not retelling everything. I'm just giving enough information so that as a reader of the analysis, you can follow the journey that this server is on and the journey of my interpretation of this story. So the father with rambunctious boys saw her. Without his words, she would have stayed invisible for another day. Being seen by the flustered father makes the server's transformation complete. So this is where I am starting the finality of my analysis, where I'm bringing it all together, where I'm going back into my thesis statement and looking at how Her transformation moves from feeling superior to feeling invisible to now, once again, feeling seen and understanding how important that is. And that's what I'm explaining here at the end. Being seen by the flustered father makes the server's transformation complete. She believed she was important and valuable, especially when compared to the lowly dishwasher. She was shown that she too could be invisible, a realization that crushed her spirit. Through the kind words of a customer, she feels valued and seen. This inner transformation changes how she views Alejandro in the dish pit, too. Before she leaves for the night, she returns to the restaurant because she knew that there was someone else she needed to see, or rather make seen. With her newfound understanding of the importance of letting others know they have value and are seen, the narrator returns to the dish pit to acknowledge Alejandro, showing how her internal growth has a positive impact on her external behaviors and how she treats others. I'm going to change this word from narrator to server because I don't want to be talking about the story like it's a story. I want to talk about the people and the events in this story as if they are real. I also want you to notice that nowhere in this essay do I say the meaning of the story is, or this evidence proves the meaning of my story is, or my understanding of the story is. I try not to use story, the word story. I try not to use the narrator. I try not to talk about the author and what the author did. When we're writing analysis essays, we want to focus on what's happening in the story. We want to focus on what are the characters doing, what are they saying, and how do those details help me, the writer of the analysis and the reader of the story, create meaning in that text, right? So nowhere in the story does the author tell us the lesson we're supposed to get. This is the lesson that I pulled out of the story, from the details in the story and also from lived experience, right? Because there are times in all of our lives where we feel invisible, like no one sees us. And we also know what it feels like when we realize that someone really does see us. And so I'm using my understanding of that lived experience in my own life to help me find that meaning in this story. And I'm using the text from the story to support that interpretation. Okay. I think that's all I need to say about this text for now. And this screencast will be here for you to watch as many times as you want. The copy of this essay will also be in Google Classroom for you to read and to be able to look at it at your own pace. And hopefully this information will help you as you rework your analysis essays for class. Thank you, and let me know if you have any questions.